These are two Heatbit Trios, and these are units that I've had on pre-order for about 2 years now, and they finally came in. And today we're going to talk about what it's like having them, what their functions are, and whether I'm happy with the purchase or disappointed. So about 2 years ago, I pre-ordered these when they got announced, and these were advertised as a Heatbit Mini, which was basically going to be a miner that would provide heat in the winter and also had an air purification system built into it. So I decided to pre-order it when they were kind of doing like some crowdsourcing and really early pre-orders. I was one of the first orders, and I got both of them in a bundle for a really good price. At least that's what I thought would have been a good price at the time. Now, this was about 2 years ago, and I actually do have the receipt. So let me go ahead and let's just take a look at this. So you can see that I pre-ordered these on April 24th, 2023. And I got 2 units for $473. And so it ended up being about $500 total shipped. And essentially what we're looking at here is each unit is 10 terahash at about 400 watts. Now, because these are heaters, they also have a supplemental heating coil in them that is optional that you can turn on, and the heat will actually boost all the way up to 1200 watts if you want it to. Or you can just put it on mining only mode. It'll use 400 watts. It'll be 10 terahash. And at the time, that seemed really good. It was essentially S19 XP efficiency. It was like that type of generation of chips. And so for the price, it seemed like it was going to be a really good deal. They were supposed to ship and get delivered by December of that year, of 2023. Obviously, that did not happen. They ran into some issues, and they ran into some shipping issues, and then they had to remanufacture basically this entire shell because it wasn't surviving shipping. And so they basically went back, revamped a bunch of stuff. They were supposed to ship last year, never shipped. I finally reached out to them to find out what the deal was, and all of a sudden they shipped mine within 48 hours. So my order did get shipped. It got sent FedEx. I had it within a week. Signature delivery. So both of these units did come in a few days ago, and I've got them set up. I've been running them for a few days. And so today we're going to just kind of talk about the features, talk about how this works, because if you notice on my receipt, I have shared income. What that means is, in order to get this deal, which was essentially, I paid, like $235 or so per unit. I only get 50% of the mined Bitcoin. So they basically get 50% of the hash rate. I get 50% of the hash rate. You can buy or upgrade these to a full plan, but I'm going to talk about the numbers, and you'll kind of understand why I chose not to do that. I just chose to stick with this. Now, because of the delays, I think it was like last year, they said, due to all of the delays with everybody that had pre-ordered, we're basically going to give you a lump sum airdrop of Bitcoin in the equivalent of what you would have mined during that period. So I essentially got airdropped, and I'm going to show you the app here in a few minutes, but I essentially got airdropped the amount that they said I would, that would actually covered a substantial portion of the machine cost, which was nice. So we'll talk about that as well once we hop in the app, and I can kind of show you. But before we hop in the app, just kind of wanted to give you a quick walk around. These are actually really nice aesthetically. They definitely look good. Now, I'll go ahead and turn this one back on. What you'll notice is up top here, we've got like a nice touch panel, and there are 3 air purification modes, and then there's also 3 mining modes. So if I flip this over to mining mode, this is actually mining right now. It's spinning up the miner, and I'll show you the app. Currently, you cannot control the pool, so it goes to Luxor, and then you get credited in Satoshis. So they did say in the app that they are working on adding the ability to set your own pool, but right now that means I cannot solo mine with these. I can only mine to Luxor. In fact, I can't even configure any pool information. So it mines, I'm not sure what account it mines under or anything like that, but I'll show you on the wallet here in a minute. You'll see where it basically credits me. And it credits me very frequently. Like, I can leave the app, come back in, and see updated sats. So that is cool that it does that. But looking at this, you'll see that we've got, right now I'm in eco mode for the mining. This will put us into a boost mode. And then this puts us into a temperature target mode, where we can actually come in and I can say I want the room target temp to be like 72. And it'll actually ramp up the heating coil. So let's say the temperature in the room right now was 65 degrees. It would ramp up the heating coil plus do the mining in order to achieve that target temp. Or if we go into eco mode, this is mining only. So at this point, we're only using the 400 watts. It's only mining, the heating coil's not being used at all. And then we can hold this down and this will switch over to the air purification mode. And I've got auto on right now for air purification. Or we can go to a nighttime, which is like a silent mode. And then there's also a boost mode, where if you've got a bunch of air particles in the room, things like that, and your bar is red here, meaning you have bad air quality, put in boost, and it'll, ripple through, suck in a bunch of air, run it through the filtration system, and try to spit out some clean air for you. But I typically are just leaving these on the auto mode. And you can see I've got this one over here as well. It's kind of set up the same way. So right now, if we take a look at our watt meter, you can see we're pulling about 17 watts. So that's what we're dealing with just the air purification. Now if I go ahead and if we switch this to mining mode, so we've got the eco mining mode, which is essentially just going to be using the miner. It's not going to be doing any supplemental heat. And then if we come back down here, you can see we've got 412 watts. So it's gonna fluctuate between like 400 and 450-ish. But that is mining right now. And there's no fan kicked on because it hasn't generated enough heat yet. But once it generates enough heat, that fan will start to ramp up and it's gonna push up all the heat. So the air comes in through here. In fact, these are the cartridges for the air filtration. Take those out in a minute. But the air gets sucked in from down here, gets pulled into and pushed through the, all the mining chips are in here, the ASICs, and then it exhausts out the top, is your heat dissipation, right out the top there. So you can see right now we're getting about 494 watts at the wall. And then there's just a little button up top here. You put in standby mode, it'll kind of shut everything down. And then if we wanted to pull out one of these cartridges, let me go ahead and try to pull that out. There you can see our filter. So we've got one on each side. So you've got two filters. They recommend replacing these every 3 months. And that other one is mining. So now we're going to jump over to the app and show you what the app looks like. We're over at the phone. We've got the app launched. And right here you can see kind of this home dashboard. And right off the bat, what you'll see is you'll notice my balance at the top. And we've got 347,711 Satoshis. And this is because we were airdropped that 340,000 Satoshis for the pre-order shipment delay compensation. So that's kind of why you're seeing that we've already got a balance of over $292. And that is because of that I believe it was 0.0035 Bitcoin is what the airdrop was for. And you'll see both miners under that, or both heaters rather. So we've got the Trio 1 is the one that I've got running in the purification only mode. And you can see when we're running in purification only, we actually have the ability to also control it. So we can put it into silent mode if we want. You can just tap silent, and that will auto switch that over in the silent, or we can turn it off completely. So if you decide that you don't want it running at all, but you are out and about, you can't obviously turn it off remotely, you can actually do that from here. Now, what you'll notice is if we hop over to the other one, this one's currently mining, got 417 watts. It's currently 80 degrees in the room. We're getting a 10.21 terahash. And we can see it's using the mining, but not the heating coil. But if you notice, when we click into this, we just get the charts. We can't actually control it at all. And if we go to the air purification section, we can't control that because this is just the sensor really reading when it is mining. So that is something to keep in mind as well, that you're only going to be able to do the remote control if it's in the purification mode already. Moving on to the stats. So one of the things that you'll notice here is that, and I talked about this when I talked about my pre-order, is we have the equal splits. What that means is we're only actually getting rewarded for 50% of the hash rate, 50% of the Bitcoin that's mined, right? So the other 50% is going to Heatbit, 50% is going to us. Those were the terms of getting the discounted rate on these miners. And so you get the option to upgrade in here. However, what you'll see is the cost to upgrade is $399 for one miner, or for two, it would be $800. Since I have two, it would actually cost me $800 to upgrade to get that other 50% on both miners. Obviously, in my opinion, not worth it, especially given kind of the state of Bitcoin mining and where we're sitting at today. So if we hop into the terahash here, what you're going to see is we only see 5, even though we have 10. This is because this is what we're actually earning against. So it says that our average hash rate is 5 instead of 10. And if we hop on over to the other one, you'll see that the hash rate is 5 instead of 10. They are hashing it 10 pretty much, but because we're only getting it half the time, we're only being rewarded for half of it, obviously. And then if we hop on over to the wallet section, this is where you can set up either a one-time withdrawal, or you can actually do monthly payouts. So we go into one-time withdrawal. You'll see that we can specify the Bitcoin wallet address. It does have a QR code scanner, so you use the camera to scan QR code, which is nice. And then you can enter the amount, but if you'll notice down here, there is a minimum amount of 100,000 Satoshis. That is currently $84. So in order for you to do a withdrawal, you would have to accumulate $84 worth of mined Bitcoin. So had we not got that airdrop, most likely we would have never received a payout, because it would have taken several years. I mean, we're looking at running both miners. I think we'd probably be looking at like 50 cents a day revenue. And so you can kind of figure out how long it would take you to get 50 cents, essentially get 50 cents to get to $84 just to get that payout. So fortunately we did get that airdrop. It's kind of our saving grace here. And then the monthly payouts is the same way. So they'll pay you out on the 15th, but you have to have at least 100,000 sats in order to get that payout. But one thing that you're going to notice that's missing here, there's nowhere to set your pool information. And that is because currently they are mining to Luxor, and there's no way to set up your pool. However, if we hop over to the chat section, and they do have an FAQ for which mining pool they use. They currently use Luxor, but they plan to allow users to choose their own mining pools in the future. So hopefully they add this feature. I also hope that with that feature, I'm going to be able to at least maybe solo mine with the 5 terahash that I get. I'm not 100% sure how they're determining, what rewards they get versus what rewards I get, how that will work with custom pools. So that'll be interesting to see. But as of right now, we're really not going to be mining with these unless I put them maybe out in the balcony, maybe a covered patio, something like that in the winter. Just have kind of that supplemental heat out there in case I want to chill out there on, the cooler nights. But what we're going to be doing is if we take a look at the Satoshis we got, as I mentioned, we got 0.0035. And when we looked at what we paid, right, we paid just under $500, so we paid $473 for the units. If we kind of extrapolate that out, if we didn't do any mining with these or anything, we would need Bitcoin to hit $140,000 in order to break even on these units with the airdrop alone. And that's kind of what I'm banking on, is just holding the Bitcoin, see where the price goes, using these as air purification systems within kind of my home. And then at nighttime in the winter, spring, fall, most likely like fall and winter, may use those out on the balcony for kind of like that supplemental heat and get some mining rewards, kind of on the side there. But I would really like to see that ability to do custom pools, because then we could start maybe thinking about at least throwing, that 5 terahash on Digibyte solo mining and getting some actual rewards. Even if they're small, they're going to be probably a little bit better than what this current payout scheme's kind of looking like. But that's pretty much it for the app. One thing I do want to mention as well with the app is you do have to tie your phone number in the app, and then your phone number kind of becomes like your account number. So anytime you're engaging with the chat support or anything like that, and they do have in-wallet chat support, which is actually really nice. I had to use it to get the airdrop, and it was pretty seamless, and so I was happy with that. But this is kind of, what the app is. This is the Heatbit Trio. As I mentioned, it is basically a heater, a miner, and an air purifier. So that's kind of where the trio comes in place. And just a quick glance there, you can see mining, you see the coil, and obviously the purification. So right at a quick glance, you see all three of those. As a nice air purifier, in comparison to maybe like the Dysons, things like that, the price at $250, probably not too bad. But as a miner, it's definitely hard to recommend this unit, especially with it retailing at $1,000.